let's move on to another team. What's the next team that you want to discuss as a potential buyer?
Talk about the Phoenix Suns. They're a very interesting team this year, dealing with a wide variety of issues, not just on the court, but also off the court. So they recently, or they, Robert Sarver is selling the team. He's pretty much forced to sell the team given his off the court issues with a wide variety of different scandals. So he's going to sell the team. I forget who the new buyer is, but selling it to someone who bought out the team. And so I think, considering they're kind of in the middle of the pack in the playoff race right now due to primarily injuries, I think as a new owner, I would imagine they would not want to tank and continue to play well and hopefully remain a title contender. And so, given their current team right now, obviously they need to hope that Devin Booker gets back. CP3 just came back a few days ago, and so I think they're in position to try to make a move to get back in the standings. Because I know there's a time period when CP3 was out as well as Devin Booker, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so just to answer your question, so the new Suns owner is Matt Ishbia.
Mhm.
So quick background on him for those who don't know. So he went to Michigan State under Tom Izzo, was on a team, even though he was more of a bench warmer on the team. He's currently a founding partner of Shore Capital, venture capital firm. He has relationships with not just teams in the NBA, not only teams and league office officials in the NBA, including Adam Silver, but he's also has relationships in the NFL and the MLB as well. He's been trying to get involved in owning a team for many years, right? Him and his family are not only very wealthy, but very successful business people as well. And they love basketball and sports. Um, with the Suns, it's first off, the Suns have all their picks, right? They're one of the few teams, if not the only team, that literally does not owe a pick to anyone, and they have literally all their picks. And so they are able to make nearly any trade that they want right now. In terms of what they should do, first, to your point, they've had a lot of injuries to Booker and to Chris Paul, right? Which is why they're around 500, one game or 500. If those guys are healthy, they're probably closer to the top of the West. In terms of them being a buyer, we all know about the Jae Crowder situation. The reason why they have to be a buyer right now is because every day that passes by, every day that we get closer to the trade deadline, the Suns lose more and more leverage because Jae Crowder is not playing. He's a free agent this summer, and your last chance to trade him is at the trade deadline in a few weeks. Every team in the league knows this, right? So they're not going to give up fair market value for Jae Crowder because they know that the Suns have little to no leverage. So every day that passes by, you lose what little trade value that you have for Jae Crowder. So you need to make some type of trade ASAP, right? But just to assess what the Suns need, they obviously need power forward help, and they also need more guard depth, right? They right now are literally okay. They're literally okay at everything right now. Once Booker comes back, I think they'll be like a top 5, top 7 offense because Booker's one of the best offensive players in the league, but they are very average at rebounding right now, and they're very average at defense right now, just because they lack the players, they lack the depth right now. Just off the top of my head, a trade that makes some sense includes a team that we spoke about earlier. Is if you wanted to kind of upgrade your power forward spot, get some more guard depth, because right now they don't really have a playmaking guard off the bench that can score and or facilitate. You can do like a Jae Crowder and a Jae Crowder and a campaign for Jordan Clarkson and Vanderbilt, and their salaries almost match, right? So you get a power forward who plays defense that can hustle, that can rebound, which is all three that you're lacking, and you can upgrade a um your guard depth right now because campaign is your best guard, right? Clarkson is a massive upgrade over that. Now, what the Jazz would want in draft compensation, one, if not two picks, probably. Is it worth it for Clarkson and Vanderbilt? Debatable. Depends on what kind of protections, but off the top of my head, that's a trade that they could make. But regardless, the Suns need to make a trade. Um, I'm gonna guess that their owner wants to make a trade for the sole purpose of trying to make a big splash as new owner, try to win. But again, every day that passes by, they lose more and more leverage on any type of Jae Crowder trade, which is something that they need to address ASAP.
Yeah, I completely agree. They also have, I mean, they have a good amount of guys on 1 year deals as well that they could potentially move. Um, all role players that potentially could be useful for another team if they're not getting too many minutes. So I mean, I know they currently have like Torrey Craig, who's a solid defender for them in the starting lineup. There's Cam Johnson that can be moved. I mentioned campaign earlier. Uh, I would mention Dario Saric, but they kind of need big, so they're probably going to keep him. Damian Lee, Saban Lee, there's and Biombo, who I think they actually do need, so they're probably not moving him. Landry Shamet is potentially a guy they could try to move as well. Should try to get help and, as you mentioned, shore up um, their bigs because they're not playing too well. And Aiden's also out recently, so that doesn't help them either. So they also need support for Aiden.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean,
Other than Biombo.
yeah, I feel like the Suns, they don't have a solid sixth man, if that makes sense. They
Yeah.
have a lot of good bench players that are very solid, but none of them you could say I want this person on my team to close out a fourth quarter of a playoff game, potentially speaking, right? Um, so whether that's the backup guard, backup forward, whatever it is, they need to make some type of upgrade, right? But yeah, I like to agree with you there. So yeah, we'll see what happens with the Suns. It's gonna be very, very interesting next few weeks for this team because
A
not
lot
only
of
are
things can
they,
happen. They
yeah,
can trade Aiden. You never know because the Suns even want to sign Aiden. They're just kind of like forced to sign him.
yeah. I mean, I don't know what's gonna happen. I think Aiden staying with the Suns would be all dependent on what happens in the playoffs, right? If the Suns lose in the first round or don't make it to the playoffs for some odd reason, Chris Paul, Aiden, everyone except for Booker and Bridges is probably gonna be on the table in some way or fashion, right? So
Yeah,
the Suns over the next six months is gonna be very interesting because they're gonna get a new owner, officially on paper, a new owner in a few weeks. They have a trade deadline where they have to trade one of their core players, or not core players, but one of the better players. They're getting Devin Booker back from his second hamstring injury this season. They have to try to make a playoff push. And depending on what happens during the playoffs, if they make it, they may have to deal with an older Chris Paul potentially this summer and another Aiden summer, right? So it's gonna be and they also have to re-sign Cam Johnson, who's a restricted free agent this summer. So
yeah, it's
the,
also a good
the
player for
Suns
them.
have a lot of massive decisions to make this upcoming summer.